Welcome to another episode of the Binteger podcast, the place where integrity calls and wholeness responds. My name is Binteger. I'm your host. I'm glad to have you here as we talk today on this 25th episode about dating with integrity. Dating with integrity. I'm going to share maybe one of my most controversial perspectives at the end of this podcast, so just stay tuned for that one there. But before we begin even chatting about dating with integrity, let me do a quick feelings check-in. This is again the part of the podcast where I devote some time to practicing for myself what integrity looks like as I model honesty with myself in this moment, especially in recounting how I'm feeling and what's going on underneath the radar for me that is beyond your perspective. And then I share that because that's one of the ways that we want to learn how to practice integrity and being truthful, not only with ourselves, but with those we're in relationship with. And so in this moment, I am feeling content because I finished a long day of work today. I had some significant meetings where I felt tremendously affirmed in the position that I have in leadership with, by management and the owners of the company. That was really good. We were dealing with some difficult things to navigate personnel-wise, and so we were just talking about some of those things. So grateful for being part of a company where we're all on the same page about what we feel is important about the work climate that we're trying to create. And so I felt tremendously affirmed. So I'm feeling really, really grateful. I finished the work that I had to do. I'm back here again doing these podcasts. I'm so thrilled to be able to do these podcasts and spend some time saying, here's what I find valuable and important, and I give myself to it. And so that's how I'm feeling today. And one of my coworkers I was spending some time with him after work, and he asked, Benny, how are you really doing? And I was able to recount for him just in a brief synopsis my last couple of years or so, where there's been a lot of things happening that have been challenging my personal life. And I'll tell you, my dear Binteger, is this sense of gratitude that I have where I'm able to roll with the punches. That's what one of the owners was saying to me today amid some unexpected challenges that came up on the job. She said, Benny, you just keep rolling with the punches. And for me, I feel that fuels my gratitude because I have gone through some significant challenges that have enabled me to acquire some skills, some emotional awareness, some abilities to have insights that enable me to navigate well through tricky and tempestuous seasons. And so I'm super grateful in this moment that I live this life that has its ups and downs, to be certain, and yet in the midst of it, there is this state of calm, there's a state of focus and commitment on what the main point is, and I'm so grateful for that. My dear Bintegers, I love to encourage you to keep doing this discipline with me, where you take the opportunity. We do it on a daily basis on this podcast, but even take an opportunity as you're listening in to briefly assess what's going on for you, what's happening in your life right now, and how's it making you feel, and how can you give validity to what you're feeling right now, because that's super important. We don't want to naysay ourselves. We don't want to say, oh, that doesn't matter, it's just me. No, it's wonderfully important for you to be able to acknowledge where you're at. I'm going to give you just a handful of emotions to consider adding to your arsenal of vocabulary so you can describe your emotions with more specificity. These are emotions that are unpleasant emotions that arise when your needs are not being filled or to the degree that you're longing for. And some of these could be, you might be feeling troubled or torn or uneasy, heavy-hearted, or irritated perhaps. Perhaps you're troubled, torn, uneasy, heavy-hearted, and irritated. And then, of course, we also have on the other side the pleasant emotions that arise when your feelings and needs, you feel that they're being fulfilled. And these might be something like grateful, touched, hopeful, eager, and fulfilled. Once again, grateful, touched, hopeful, eager, and fulfilled. I hope those words will serve you well as you tuck them away and consider them when the right moment arises and you're like, this is the word that describes what I'm going through in this present moment. Let's dive into our topic today. Today we're talking on this 25th episode about dating with integrity. This has been on my radar for a while because I've been in the dating world for some years now, and I've had a lot of chance to think through what some of my values are. Now remember, the intersection between dating and integrity. Integrity I define as when one is aligning their internal values with their external actions while being true to themselves and respectful of those around them. And this carries right on into the dating world. And so dating with integrity, what does it look like? I feel that the importance of addressing this because in my observation, there's not a lot of dating that happens with integrity. There's a lot of dating that happens in ways that I find tremendously unfortunate. So this is just my perspective. I'm coming at it from my values that I want to propose for you all in your considerations of your own experience. Feel free, my dear Bintegers, those of you who are thinking carefully and trying to figure out how to live your life with integrity. Maybe you resonate with some of these. Maybe you disagree with some of these. I'd love to hear why either way. But here is my contribution to this conversation of dating with integrity. And like I said, I'm going to touch on, at the end of this podcast, maybe my most controversial perspective in relation to dating. And it's a very challenging one, but one that I keep tenaciously because I feel so strongly about it. And I'll tell you why, but I'll cover a little bit of time to explain that one. But here are some things to consider. Number one, be clear about your intentions. Be clear about your intentions when you're expressing interest in someone. Are you interested more in casual connections, or are you more interested in serious investment as you get to know someone? Or are you just basically just exploring and seeing what's out there? Be clear about those intentions when you are approaching someone, because see, the thing about dating that makes it so real for me is basically what we're doing is we're asking for heart space in someone's life, and that's a very vulnerable space. That's a very vulnerable zone where you're saying, can I have access to the deep parts of you, the parts that you don't just share with anyone? And so when you're making such a request, such a big request, it's important that we're treating with a certain sacredness that request, saying, hey, I'm asking for something big, but I want to do right by you, even as I ask for this big thing. And that's that heart space. My goodness, like, it hurts when someone gets burned this way. I know because I've experienced it, but I've also been active in my past in breaking hearts as well because of dishonesty. And so be clear and honest about your intentions. Don't say you're looking for something serious if your real intention is just being casual. Be upfront about that, even if it's at your cost. Don't try to get something that is going to affect someone else adversely. And so don't think in terms of, hey, I'll tell them this story that I'm looking for something serious, for example, while I just plan on just ditching them after, having my time with them. That's really unfortunate. That's really lack of integrity, because you are playing fast and loose with someone's most sacred aspects that they are sharing and entrusting with you. And that's just not a great way to build any rapport or trustworthiness or credibility. Number two, communicate very clearly and openly and honestly about your feelings, your expectations, your concerns, things that are on the radar. Make that part of the conversation from the very outset. Normalize clear communication and expression of things that you're hoping to feel and experience and so on like that, and communicate those up front. Thirdly, respect the boundaries that have been set. Respect the boundaries and don't press this individual into uncomfortable scenarios. If you are interested in progressing in the physical intimacy category, respect the boundaries that have been set. If they say, I'm not ready for this, don't try to press for it. Don't try to manipulate them towards that. Honor and respect the boundaries that they set, and work to grow in trust so that they may, as they feel more safe, as they feel more trusting in you, start to change those boundaries. Fourthly, respect their privacy. Like when you are with them, don't go snooping through their phone. Don't go snooping through their through their belongings. Respect their privacy. Sometimes for some, they even say, respect my privacy in relation to my social media. Don't go looking and snooping. I want to keep that part for myself until I'm ready to share with you. So respect the privacy that they request. Fifthly, maintain independence. Maintain independence by keeping your interests. Don't lose yourself in the midst of this relationship. Keep your you-ness you. Like, keep you intact. There's so many who get lost because they get sucked into this relationship and they forget who they are and what they were all about. In fact, their friends even start losing touch with them because they just kind of cut them out so that they can focus in, or because they feel compelled to just hone in on this relationship, and that's all they see. So don't lose your you-ness. Maintain your independence, maintain your friendships, maintain your hobbies, maintain your interests, and also don't forget to maintain time for yourself. Make sure you're still doing those things that remind you about what makes you you, because that's the part that you're bringing into this relationship that is your you-ness, uniquely you. Don't let someone else take that away. Don't give it up. Sixthly, be faithful to the promises that you to the promises and the commitments that you make. This is one of the things I did not do, and I've had to process and make amends in some deep ways because I broke some significant trusts and promises that I had made and the commitments that I had committed to. When you make a promise, keep it. Do not make promises you cannot keep. Do not make commitments you cannot keep. If you cannot commit to one person in a relationship, be upfront about that and say, I'm not wired this way. That's okay and legitimate, but be upfront about it. That's my setting. I can't promise to be exclusive because that's not how I'm wired. And so I wanted them to know at the outset so that they don't have an expectation otherwise. I don't want to make promises anymore in my life that I cannot keep. So I'm very careful about the promises that I do make. Let me hasten a little bit more to the last few here. Acknowledge mistakes that you've made, take ownership for them, grow as a result, prioritize consent, and seek that hell yes response from them, that enthusiastic affirmative response, especially in all the levels of intimacy. Don't press and manipulate, but look for that consent and honor that consent. And remember that consent is an ongoing process and it can be revoked at any time. They could say, hey, yes, let's go and do X, Y, and Z. And then as you guys are in the midst of it, it's legitimate for them to say, actually, I don't want to do this anymore. I changed my mind. You need to honor that. That's what consent looks like, and we have to commit ourselves to it. Reject manipulation tactics. Reject guilt tripping this individual. Reject trying to pressure them to try and get something you want at their expense. Make sure you don't dabble in this because that is really awful engagements that lacks integrity at the very core. Treat these individuals as fellow equals. Treat them as equals because they have their own opinions, they have their own goals, they have their own choices, and they're as valid as your own. So make sure to let them feel that they are an equal with you, that they have contributions that are just as valid as you do. And so make sure you invest in that. This is probably one of the hardest ones, especially for guys, but also for women as well too. And that is, handle rejection with grace and respect. When the answer is no, don't take it personally. Honor that. Thank them for being honest. Thank them for speaking truthfully to you without actually leading you deep into something that could be even more heartbreaking. But honor a rejection with gratitude and say, thank you for being honest with me. And grow courage to face that and then go and seek some other options. But take rejection with grace, with respectfulness, and with honor, and don't pressure them or make them feel bad for that. Now, the controversial perspective that I have, and that is show all your cards up front. And for me, what this means is show all your cards, especially those ones in your life that you're like, ooh, if they know this part about my life, I'm not sure if they're going to stick with me. You know, there's certain things in our past that we feel like we're not very happy or proud of. And there's some things that we feel shameful about. Deal with all that stuff in your own past. Work through it. Grow to make amends for all that needs to be happening, because one of the gifts you want to give this individual to walk with integrity, in my perspective, is you want to show all your cards by way of intentions, and you want to do that by way of saying, here is everything you need to know about me, not only the good, but here's also the ones that you may find challenging, that may give me a no answer. You want to share all of that upfront so that they have everything they need to be able to determine if they want to walk along with you in this pathway that you're both carving together. This is one of the most, I don't know, it's not a very popular stance, but I think it's a very courageous one, and it's a fantastic gift to offer instead of months later when you're both emotionally connected already. I hope this has been a helpful episode for you. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.